Okay.
Yes, I'll give you back. Welcome, everyone. Obviously, I am not Pastor Kelly. Just a bit of color difference there. Yeah, but that's okay. So, leadership and ethics. Callum is here. Marianne is here. Elizabeth is here.
Sharon's here.
Sharon is here. Anyone else here?
Maria's here.
Maria is here.
Is David here?
Yep, there.
David?
Yeah, David's here.
Yeah, I've just seen the wee boy there.
Oh, wait. He's over there.
Okay, so is that everyone? That should be everyone. Okay, let us pray and we shall begin today. Lord, we thank you. We worship you. We honor you. That, Lord Jesus, speak to us, Lord, and continue to lead us and direct us in our footpaths. And God, give us a greater understanding of your word, who you are. And Lord, let us take these words and let Jesus help us not to just hear them, but apply them in your wonderful, matchless name, Jesus, we pray. Amen. Amen. Do you guys have any assignments? I think.
Just to read.
Just to read. Okay, and how's that reading being done?
Can't even find that.
All right, that's okay. I suppose we'll go through this together. Delegating and getting work done through others for leadership. This is a fine example. Pastor Kelly delegating. Do you guys have these notes? Anyone?
We've got a book.
We've got a book. Do you have your book with you?
That's what I'm looking for.
All right. Yeah. What? Why is delegation so important? Why is delegation important as a leader? You don't need to do everything yourself. Yes. Delegation is important in the sense that, again, you don't need to do everything yourself because you can't unless you are God. And you can create a whole world in 6 days and then rest on the 7th. But I don't see any. Okay, well, the birds here treating us? No, it's okay.
What page are we on, sorry?
You should be on page delegating. 39, yes. Okay, so delegation. Number one, give me some good important. Why would delegation be important? You can't do everything yourself. What else?
You can't do everything yourself, and you need to kind of
Delegate somebody that you think could be doing.
somebody that's
Yeah,
trustworthy,
yeah,
that you know that they'll get the job done.
Yes.
Might be better at doing something.
Somebody might be better than you at doing something. Yes.
Yeah.
And on top of that as well, it's in a way when you delegate, you're also training
Yeah.
someone to take responsibility, to
responsibility.
develop in their skills. And you know who the delegator is in the world? Jesus himself. How did he do delegation? Yes, the disciples. He's like, hey, listen guys, so I'm going to need you to change the world. All right, let's go. It's like, oh, I'm going. But you have this. I'll send my spirit. It'll be with you, but you have this. You know, and the amazing thing is, Jesus didn't prepare his church for his presence, but he prepared the disciples for his absence. He says, I'm going to go at some point. And so I'm going to leave you by yourself, and you're going to have to be ready to take over this. And then take it to all of the world. And I don't know, maybe someone is preparing you for... Yeah. And so you guys, it's time for you to... And it's really, it's the same thing. It says, hey, go on and make disciples. It's like, hey, go and take what I've given you and pass it on to the next person, and that next person passes it on to the next person.
That's where your fivefold ministry comes in, because then you've got some that might be good at teaching, some might be good at building up churches, some might be good at this and that, so he's delegating all that to these people.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so it's important that, I think Jesus is a prime example. Is like, who are you pouring into? Who are you investing into? Because it's not our job to fill anyone's cup, but it is our responsibility to empty our cup. And so, whose cup are you filling?
Yeah.
Whose cup are you pouring into? Where are you emptying yourself? Because the greatness of a life is measured not by how much you attain and keep for yourself, but the greatness of your life is measured by how much you gave away of it. And so at the end, can you look back at your life and think, you know what, it was filled up here, but I've emptied that tank as much as possible, pouring it into others. And so, let's move on here. Delegation. Why would someone feel insecure about delegating? Why would a leader feel like, I just can't delegate. I have to do everything.
It's all about trust as well, because you might not be able to trust giving away that particular job because it's so important and it's so
Yeah.
that he knows that it needs to be done, and the only person that he can trust really is himself.
Yes.
To do it.
He's weak, he can't do it by himself.
Yeah.
Delegation, you're right, does require a lot of trust. It also reminds you, people are not going to do it the same way you do it. You have to let them express and do things in their own way. Not everyone is going to be as fast as you. Not everyone is going to do it the same way. For me,
If you want a job done, do it yourself.
but
Yeah.
we can't do that. Imagine, I feel like Jesus would do a better job than us at a lot of things that He's left us responsible for.
But it gives her that responsibility so that you can learn in that responsibility at the same time.
Yeah.
So you need to learn to trust people.
Yeah, you really do. And for me personally, when it comes the youth room, right? If you're going to clean up the youth room, that doesn't just mean you hoover it. That means you dust off the shelves, you put every book in order, in height, size, you make sure you put the cushion, you pump them together, and you put them in the right order.
You move the furniture first.
Yeah. You move it, you make sure everything is in its exact place. And when I walk in, I'm like, that's how you tidy it up. So I walked in, and somebody was like, oh, I tidied up the youth room. I was like, oh, thank you very much for doing that. I appreciate that. And I walk in, I'm like, the pillows are still upside down. The blanket's not folded properly. There's a stack of books on the side. Like, oh yeah, I hoovered it, I put everything everywhere. I was like, thank you very much. Let's have youth. Because more than anything, again, like you say, it's a training process. It's like, hey, you know what? Bit by bit, and you can just hope that maybe they'll get there. Now, obviously, I know I'm a bit obsessive when it comes to that. I grew up in a home where, my mom is a germ freak. I'm a tidy freak. My mom is the type of mom, she washes a dish. When she washes it, she'll dry it and put it away. And then when she's going to use it, she'll boil the kettle and then pour hot water in that glass and empty it, then use the glass. I always think, that's crazy, Mom. But then after she does that, she wash it and then just put it on the table. I'm like, Mom, the glasses don't go there, the glasses go here. If we're gonna use a glass, it should go back in its exact same place. So imagine two people living in a house like that. Like, that's not clean. I'm like, that's not tidy. It's like, it's tidy, but my mom's like, it's tidy, but it's not clean. I'm like, it's clean, but it's not tidy. So, anyway, I'm just...
Yeah.
I know.
Your version of tidy isn't the same as their version
No,
of tidy.
that's like-
Yeah.
But it comes first, the chicken or the egg.
I usually say, if you don't tidy your room, I'll tidy your room. And when I tidy your room, they get scared. Because
All right, someone find for me Ecclesiastes chapter 4, verse 9 to 12.
Do you want me to read it out?
Yes, please.
2 are better than 1 because they have a good reward for their labour. For if they fall, the one will lift up his fellow. But woe to him that is alone when he falleth, for he has not another to help him up. Again, if 2 lie together, then they have heat. But how can one be warm alone?
Yes. So that's talking more about accountability. And first of all, without explaining, 2 are better than...
1.
2 are better than... Why are 2 better than 1?
Because they help each other,
Yeah,
pull each other up.
they pull each other up. A few reasons for this.
Quicker.
They get the job quicker, yes. Many hands make light
work.
work. But sometimes too many cooks
Spoil the broth.
spoil the broth. Now, no man is an isolated island. There is strength in a brother-to-brother relationship that results from being accountable. Accountability simply means to be answerable to someone for your actions. Long ago, the Greek philosopher Plato said, "The life which is not examined is not worth living." That is certainly true in leadership today. Having somebody you're accountable means you're willing to explain your actions. You don't just do what you want to do. You have someone there, and I think as a leader, or just in life in general, you should have those people who not that they're your boss, not that they owe you anything, but there's some people who you're accountable to. And the best one is, this is what happens when you start to think you're an island, when you start to think you're autonomous, you're like God, you can be by yourself. A great example is the one and only. He was a poet. He was handsome. He was dark. I'm not talking about me. But the one and only King David. Now David, he's one of those men. He just seemed to have it going together. The Bible describes him as handsome. If somebody has to write down that you are handsome, it means you are probably a good-looking person. And it says he was skilled, he was an athlete, he was a warrior, he was a poet, he was a musician. I'm just like, tell me something you don't do, David. And it says David was supposed to be with his army fighting. He was supposed to be there in the front line leading his people. But he decided, you know what, I'm going to do my own thing today. I will answer to nobody, and because I'm the king, who's going to challenge me? And you know what happened that day? You know what happened that day? David decided that, you know what, I don't answer to anybody. I'm going to do my own thing. I'm going to be autonomous. Instead of doing what I know I'm supposed to be doing, I'm going to be doing the other thing. I have nobody who's accountable to me. One day...
Lost the battle.
No.
No.
One day, David finds himself.
Is that the day where
He goes up on the roof and he sees somebody taking a bath. And he says, my. Is that who I think that is? What's her name? But can somebody can you go find out who that is on the roof there? Bathsheba. And we all know what happened with the story of Bathsheba that day.
Yeah.
He tries to kill her husband. He ends up losing the first child. There's drama in the family with Solomon, because one wants to take over and all these things. Because of a decision that day when he decided, I'm not going to be accountable. And it's so crazy to think about it sometimes when you think, you know what? How one decision can affect so much of the rest of your life. Yes, and others' lives. Yeah, it's crazy. Your decisions don't only affect you. They affect the people around you. They affect the generations to come from you. You have no clue how that one decision has such a ripple effect for generations to come. And David's family suffered. Because that day he decided, instead of being accountable, I'm going to be autonomous. I'm going to do my own thing. I need not to answer to anybody. I'm King David. No accountability. Anyway, leadership, right?
It's the same when you're learning something and you've got something you don't want to pass it on. It's pride as well.
Yeah, it's pride. Being honest and open about our motives. When you have somebody accountable, it's important that you're honest and open about the motives that you have, why you're doing what you're doing. What usually motivates you is probably your motive. Your motive is what motivates you. What is it? Like power, greed, to get back at somebody, you know. Usually, you know, as a leader, it can be a bit intimidating sometimes when you're not being very successful and you're watching someone being successful, and so your motivation is I'm going to be better than you, and when you see them fail, you know what your motive is when you see somebody else fail, and you go in your heart, there's that little laugh. That's probably an issue there. You would never say it up in their face. You'd go, I'm so sorry.
And you'd be saying this
But you'd be laughing inside.
Yeah. You're like, I told you not to do it, or you go, that is a shame. I can't. Man. But inside, and it's a simple cure for that one is learn to celebrate other people's victories, even when you don't mean it. It's okay. Go and celebrate. Okay, go and celebrate that victory and say congratulations. I'm proud of you. I'm happy for you. Well done. Answering for one's life and work assigned, giving reasons why something was done or not done. A great thing about accountability as well is when you don't get something done. You know, it's not like you're going, no, but you know I'm going to have to answer to somebody. I'm going to have to say something to somebody. You got a story to share, Kevin?
Yeah, well, as youth leader in Edinburgh, I opened youth services on Saturday,
Yeah.
and one of my what to do is to make sure everything's organised, tidy. Well, I forgot to turn the heater off, and it was on for about all night, all day. The pastor comes in the morning, sees it on, and he asks me why I didn't leave it on. And yeah, so I was held accountable for leaving it on because you
You on all night, yeah. It's a great word for discipline. So have somebody and accountability. We'll talk about leadership, but just in general in life as well. Somebody, have somebody accountable. Now, it's easier if you are married. Maybe your husband. If you got a good friend of circles, a good circle of friends, a good circle of friends. That helps. Be teachable and willing to change, not stubborn. And for me personally, I know this because by nature, I can be at times very argumentative, and I enjoy it. It's fun. I'm like, oh, argument. Let's have fun. For people, that's annoying. Okay, for me, I'm like, oh, exercise for my brain. Okay, and I realize the more I go further in an argument, and I begin to realize I am wrong. Because I've come so far, I'm not going back. I have to keep defending this point. And so as a leader, to be humble enough and realize I'm wrong, or to even consider maybe I could be wrong. Maybe I
would say I could be wrong here. When you come right out and say I'm wrong, I'm like, I could be wrong here, I'll go and see about that.
Yeah, I could be wrong. Being willing to be teachable and say, you know what? And I think the most humbling times when you're to learn to be teachable is when someone tries to teach you something you already know very well. And you can just be like, excuse me, thank you very much, but I know what I'm doing. But to learn to, okay, yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Those moments. Yeah? You ever had those moments before? When someone tries to teach you something you already know?
Uh-huh. Actually, in group, you see, sometimes, see when they tell you go last, that's actually better than the way. I know, sometimes it is good to take it off them, even though you know it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It could be a better way of learning it.
Another thing is for accountability includes being non-defensive in actions. Right? What do you think that means, being non-defensive in actions?
Even if you know the person is wrong, just don't say it. I don't think I could do that.
Yeah, have you noticed the people who always, they have to justify everything. Sometimes, you know what, even if people get the wrong message, just like, you know what, it's none of my business to know what you think of me sometimes.
But.
Yeah, no buts. It's none of my business and you know, as leaders sometimes, especially you can't be too sensitive, folks. You can't be one of those sensitive people, like people are walking around you and they're walking on eggshells. They're not sure if they can say something to you today or in the next 5 minutes. You know, you have to be able to just kind of like approachable at times. And you know what, I know some leaders, not every leader is approachable. Some are a little bit intimidating. I don't know how. I'm pretty sure as some people, most people who don't know me can find me a bit intimidating because I'm loud and I'm full of energy sometimes. And for people who are very, you know, just kind of look, I can be a bit much for people. And so you know, even then sometimes I need to learn to read the energy in a room because sometimes I may not be received the best way. But because it's your fault, you're sensitive, I'm not sensitive. And so it's learning to read that. And you know, when people criticize you, when people give you information, you know, just thank you, analyze it, see what it means. I remember there's a preacher, I think, I don't know if he's a preacher, his name was Terry Shock. And he says 3 things for a leader. And I think that just in general in life is really great. Is number 1, to have the mind, he says to have the mind of a scholar, right? And so the mind of a scholar is somebody who's always trying to learn. And that could be through books, that could be through life's experiences, that could be through people. You're always learning and saying, maybe I could be wrong, maybe I need to change, maybe I need more expansion. You're not just saying, this is what I know and this is it. Always willing to learn. So a mind of a scholar. But then it says, a heart of a child. You know? A little bit playful. You don't take it too personally. You know children, when you offend them, right? And they're angry at you, it's not even the next day. Give it like 10 minutes. It's over. It's gone. Whatever. It's past. It's in the past. It's over. They're playful. They want to move on. That's the heart of a child. They're curious. You know, they love people. Even the people who just look really strange to you. A child is just like, hello. And then it says the skin of a rhino. To have the skin of a rhino. You know how thick a skin of a rhino is? It's pretty thick. It's hard to get through that. And so that when all those sharp words come at you, pew, 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 you're just like, okay. And we'll brush those off. No, those are not easy things. You have to do them. It's life development. Every day. Every day. You constantly. And you have to make that decision. You have to make that decision and say, I'm going to be like that. Because it's not natural for us to be like that. Most of these things don't come natural to us. Every morning I decide, I wake up and I say, I'm going to be in my best mood. Okay? Because most of the time it's easy for me to wake up like this. Leave me alone. Don't even look at me right now. I could wake up like that, but I really, it doesn't matter how tired or how, I wake up and I go, okay, I'm in my best mood. And this is me when I wake up in the morning. I'm hyping myself up. I look crazy sometimes in the morning. I'm going, woo! Okay, man, I'm gonna conquer the world today. Yeah, by the time I leave the room, I'm just like, okay. Because it says, this is the day that the Lord has made, and I will rejoice. And you might not feel it, okay? It doesn't say, and I feel like rejoicing today. But it's that decision. You say, you know what? I'm going to. And without going into the whole psychology of it, is our brains believe how our bodies act, basically. And so if you're sitting in a room and you're sitting like this, eventually your brain's going to say you're tired and you're bored. You're sitting like this and you're trying there to focus, eventually your brain is going, okay, you're trying to focus, let's focus. You know, you kind of...
They tell you that, do they?
Yeah, you kind of like...
You have a smile on your face and you have a smile.
Yeah, you're walking around like this, defeated, life, oh, nothing good out there for me. But you know what? You stand there for, you know, maybe 10 minutes. You got, I don't know who stands like this, but you know, superwoman, whatever. You know, you got your chest out, you know, you're walking, I don't advise everyone walks like this throughout the day, but you know, you got that. Eventually your mind begins to say, you know what, maybe I feel confident. Maybe I feel a little bit good, you know? And it sounds funny, but it's almost, fake it until your brain starts to believe it. Okay?
Fake it till you break it.
now
That's
here's
exactly
the
how
thing.
it is.
That's what it means.
Let me say this. I will say this though. You know, there are days where you're just like, all right, they are those. But don't let these days count for 95% of your life.
Not just like 1 or 2 days.
Someone read for me Proverbs chapter 27, verse 17. Yes. Proverbs 17.
Iron sharpens iron, so a man sharpens the countenance of his friend.
All right. One more time, but with passion and enthusiasm. Just like, oh, Callum, go for it.
Iron sharpens iron, so a man sharpens the countenance of his friend.
Okay. Iron sharpeneth iron. Tell me, what did you hear from that verse? What are you feeling in that verse there? Talk to me. You can talk to me too, Marie, if you want. But iron sharpeneth iron. I want you- Sharpeneth iron. Read the verse and tell me what you're seeing. Tell me what you're...
Bring the best out of each other.
Making each other sharper, yeah? Bringing the best out of each other. Anything else? Callum, you got anything for me? Reading your commentary? Sharon, you got anything for me?
There's a bit here. Can I read this? bit?
Yeah.
It says in a similar way, mutual respect between boss and worker benefits both.
Yes, that's true.
So one person sharpens another.
Yeah.
No carrot fig tree will eat its
I think basically you're kind of learning from each other, and you might bring the best out in each other, but you could actually bring out the worst in each other too.
Yeah. But the goal,
But it's to teach and
especially as a leader, one thing is in sports, what you notice is when people are, if you're a boxer, you're a fighter, your goal is to fight, when you're fighting your opponent, you're trying to look for their weaknesses. And when you find their weaknesses, you're supposed to expose them so that you can win that fight. You find the weakness, you expose it, you win it.
bring the worst out.
For us,
find their weakness and help them.
yes, you find their weakness and you help them. But so often we're quick to find the weakness and criticize it.
Yeah.
So often we're quick to find the weakness and tell them about it. So often we'll find the weakness and bring them down about it. But for us, we take that weakness and help them, encourage them, edify them, lift them up. But here's the awesome thing, especially when you got good best friends, you've got a nice, and it's really, I'm starting to, I never understood this, fully, but I'm really trying, I'm getting it slowly, is it really counts the people who you surround yourself with. It really does. They influence you, you know, the work in your life. And so it's being careful about the people who are around you, how they're working with you. Pardon? There you go. Now, the sharpening, iron sharpening sharp. Have you ever seen iron sharpening? Yeah, that's pretty loud. Sometimes it can be a bit brutal. You know, you can bring the best out of each other in not the nicest ways sometimes. Okay? Sharpening iron is like, clang, clang, clang. And it's violent if you think about it. It's a violent action. There's sparks when you see iron sharpening iron sometimes. It's not always just soft and I love you.
If you're sharpening somebody else's brain, you're sharpening them for it.
Yeah.
You're sharpening it.
And so, having accountability, it's this thing that we don't talk about too often. It's like being able to, and you know, for anyone who, it's being able to take off the mask and saying, this is who I am, really. And I need help. And most of the times we don't like to do that, to take off the mask and say, this is who I am. Even one of the reasons people find Jesus offensive is because when you say you need Jesus, or when you say you need Jesus, or you tell somebody they need Jesus, what you're essentially saying to them is, there's something wrong with you and you need help. And people don't like to be told, there's something wrong with you. You don't know my life. You don't know my story. You don't know what I've been through. I'm fine. You're the one with issues. But being able to say, take that mask off and say, hey, this is who I am. To drop the act. If you can find those people, you're blessed. You know, it talks about Jonathan and David's relationship. It says they're closer than a brother, than brothers. You know, they're the way it seems to even describe these two, it's like they're closer than like a married couple.
The twins.
I don't know what that is, to be closer than a married couple or brothers, but it says they're so close, that's what they were like. And I'm thinking, like, to find somebody like that in life is an absolute blessing. If you can find a Jonathan, you can find a David. Because David had issues, Jonathan had issues.
You said you and Zach.
Everybody got issues, but if you got that accountability.
Issues, I mean.
Yeah.
Closer than David.
But that's how they two came together, wasn't it? Through your issues.
I didn't mean that. I mean,
You know what that is?
Thank you. You know, I know what
that's a
you.
good way to make that a good way.
No.
What is called?
Okay.
You didn't go on to school, didn't you?
So their issues became friendship.
Yeah. No, we have a good relationship. Me and Zach are very different. Zach hang out with the kids who are. He hang out with the rock star kids. Very musical. It was during that fashion where they grow this part of their hair like this long in front of their face. I don't know what that is. I was like, why are you kids doing that to yourself? You can't see anything. You know, comb your hair back. I was more in the athletics department with the running. I never saw Zach in PE. I don't know where he was.
He ran away.
But that's the department I was in. But despite even us being so different, we made it work. And you know, we do sometimes we have clashes. Sometimes I just don't see how Zach sees things, okay? And he doesn't see how I see things. All right, you know, I love it though. Zach is sometimes my problem is I can be over calculated, and so what that means is like I can calculate something so much, and then I decide, you know what, I'm not gonna do it because it just doesn't make sense. Zach sometimes he doesn't even calculate anything, and then he just jumps. And I'm like, what are you doing? And it works out sometimes, and I'm like, oh,